It is June 11th. It's 12:12 p.m. And obviously, I am here with myself today because I have not done a video recording of just like, life, a little Gigi, catching up type vibe. And I figured today was the day. So I want to kind of like go through the process of like what it means to communicate for me right now, because I feel like it's really important. And today is Venus Day. I was born on Friday. So for me, I feel like today is just like it's always a day to just like reconnect back to myself. As you can probably see, just put a little Pracia light. I just got this crystal the other day. Let me see if I can find what it means, because I've been connecting to, all the new things that have been coming into my life. And I know that this one has a meaning that's pretty important. Praciolite is an intuitive capability, promotes an intuitive capability and love. Praciolite is a stone of transformative energies that transmute negative energy to positive. Praciolite inspires creativity, attracting success, prosperity, and abundance. It aids the endocrine glands, helping something the body. So I'm guessing like heal the body. Who knows? I can't see it. But it's from the crystal store that I got, Om Shanti. And on top of that, I also have this Muggle stone, which I had taken a picture of. So Muggle stone, also called tiger iron. This is a grounding stone that brings protection, especially protection from danger. It's a stone of clarity, enabling one to see the truth below the apparent surface of issues. It's a great stone used for creative solutions, including musicians, artists, and actors. It brings vitality, confidence, and willpower. So all of this is important to I guess lay out, because I've started to get to this place in my life. This is giving very like talking head, like confessional in like a video, like a reality TV show. Anyway, I'm at a place right now where life is really transitioning and transforming into some boss bitch shit. Like, I be talking about my boss bitch shit, but like this is a time where it's really like, no girl, like you have to elevate yourself and like your mentality along with everything that's like happening. Like, I am in the middle of, as I like to call it, contract season. It's a lot of things that are requesting my time, which I'm grateful for, like a lot of like opportunities. Like, I'm still working my day job. I just finished Instagram Creator Week, where I was doing readings like for a couple of days. Shout out to the people that, reached out to me to be able to do this. And by divine stroke of luck and God, like they found me through an article I had done like earlier this year. And that's how they found my information. And it's just a sign, like, things are connecting, because like, to me, my theory is, the universe will always kind of like tap on your door with shit, like when you're supposed to be doing it. By the way, this is called Align with Truth, so I can make sure I'm continuing to tell my truth. I already sprayed it before I started this, but something says keep doing it. Let's go ahead. But yeah, so it's just like, I am in this place where, and even as I do that, it's like, keep secrets. So it's like, I keep hearing this message about like, don't share too much because people are, out to get you. And like, that's scary. Like, to be honest, like, I think that is part of what I've been experiencing over the last month too. Especially just like living in New York, and based off of a conversation I had recently, it's just like, sometimes the city doesn't feel safe. And that's part of the reason why I have been like on the move so much. New York has always had this very interesting frequency to me, where it's kind of like, you're here, you're hustling and bustling, you're here with a dream, you're here to make some things happen, whatever. But for me, especially lately, it's kind of like I've gotten to this place where I feel really proud of the, the transformation I've undergone. And also, I know that I have, like, what I was doing before, I'm not doing, you know what I'm saying? Like, now I'm doing it in a very different way, and I have a different sense of ownership over just like my truth and just like the way that I move, which is something that I prayed for. And that's what I wanted when I got here. So now that I have it, it feels like it's time to move elsewhere or move on. And I've been kind of like receiving like these messages around. It's like twofold. On one end, it's like, not necessarily don't trust everybody, but be very conscious and like ask your higher self, like your spirit guides, like ask God, like for direction when it's coming to certain things. But then on the other side, it's like, you should really be connecting and like making sure that you are putting yourself in positions that help you to elevate yourself. Because I feel like this is the season of elevation. And this is a season that is very, very like, you hear about it, You think about it, you dream about it, you manifest it, and then when it gets here, it's like, fuck, like it's happening, and I have to adjust. You know what I mean? Like I have to adjust. And it's like, what does that adjustment look like? And how do I not necessarily seamlessly do it, but that's what you like visualize, is being able to seamlessly make this transition or what have you. And sometimes that doesn't happen. It takes a lot of like back and forth and like second guessing and like, you know, trying to make sure you're making the right decision and like fear out of like making the wrong decision. I've been pulling a lot of like, not for myself, but just in general, like I've been seeing the Seven of Swords, Seven of Cups, like it's like choices, secrets, like, you know what I'm saying? And it's just, it's hard to navigate all of that. It's hard to navigate all of that, especially when you are literally just trying to like trust yourself and trust your intuition and go based off of your own knowledge and your own experience, but not letting past hurts and past traumas and past situations dictate and derail the decisions that you know you want to make. So it's like it informs, you know what I'm saying, like things that have happened in my past, whether it comes to friendships, like especially just like as I continue to elevate as far as like my career and my life's work is concerned, as I call it, as far as like my spirituality, my spiritual work, my ministry is what I'm, I guess, like coining it as right now, or thinking about it as a little more. I will never forget my girlfriend saying like GG Ministries is going to be put on the map one day, and I was like, I like that name. Also, the fact that I have one eye that's like lower than the other, that's another thing that's been going on. Like I had this sty in my eye for like 3 or 4 weeks. It went away, but then it also left kind of like this discoloration around my eye. So it's like I've been going through these changes, and then it's like this eye is a little bit lower than the other one, and I know that that's probably normal, but it's like having to adjust to all of these little things that are like going on and like shifts that are happening, and it's like, oh my God, like having to be grateful for what you have. I'm like, I can still see, you know what I'm saying? I'm still cute. It doesn't really fucking matter. But it's like having to like adjust to all of these things at one time, and then like struggling to figure out like who you can talk about this stuff with. And actually I take that back, because it's not like I've been struggling to have outlets. I do have the right outlets in my life, and I have people that I trust, but then it's also just like, how much am I supposed to be sharing externally? Like, is it time? Are you ready? Are there really people that are out to get you? Like, because, you know, sometimes I'm very, I don't want to say naive, but I'm super trusting until somebody like burns me. And there have been times in the past where it's just like, you know, I put my all into situations. I think what I've been noticing lately for me personally is, you know, I've been communicating or trying to communicate with like certain people in my life. And I think like expelling, not necessarily a lot of energy, but noticing where I'm putting energy and not necessarily receiving it back on the same vibration. And I think that sometimes I struggle with like knowing when to disconnect completely, because it's not of benefit. And I think that this season right now for me is just like, you know, you can still be yourself, and you can still be loving, and you can still, you know, check in on people, but you don't have to necessarily give this feeling of, it's kind of like disappointment. And then part of it is kind of just like, you know, well, if this is done, then what comes next? And that's happening in a variety of different ways in my life. Also, I just have to say that because this card has been like this is what I pulled for myself earlier today, the communication card from the Sacred Power deck. I don't know how you can see it, whatever, you can see it. And as you can see, butterflies, of course, I have a fucking butterfly ring that I've had for about a month, and I've got this around the full moon in Scorpio that happened a couple of weeks ago, or about a month and a half ago. And I feel like it talks about like communicating and speaking clearly and with confidence. And it's like, I know that, and I've been told in the past that a lot of my gifts and a lot of my powers and a lot of like my knowledge and the things that I do to help not just me elevate, but like my community and like my tribe. And like, if you see this, like my stomach just growled when I said that. It's like, I do it with intention because I want to help and I want to be giving, but I also have to remember that I'm not supposed to be doing this for everybody. And I have to make sure that I'm giving it to myself first. And that's a life lesson that I'm still learning. And as things continue to grow, because people have been calling me celebrity lately, and like, I'm still adjusting to that. Something just went off outside, and it's like those little things are like, should I have said that? Like, but it's the truth. Like, it's my truth. Like, people have been equating me to that, and I'm still adjusting to seeing myself as the same. And it is something I've always wanted but it's also just like, bitch, like it's actually happening. And what I've been having to remind myself is it's happening for me. It's not happening to me. It's happening for me. It's happening for me. And this is just the first stage. And it's just like, what does celebrity even mean? And honestly, I just feel like it's just like being seen in your field and being like good at what you do and people respect it. And it's like, that's all I ever wanted. And all I ever want right now, like at the place that I am in my life, is to just like continue to grow, continue to learn. I started to realize like the healing work that I do is not just some bullshit and I'm just seeing it and thinking it's happening just for me. I'm like, no, girl, like it's always been happening around you and to the people you've worked with. And you need to trust and remind yourself that you really are that bitch. Like, and you have been doing the work in order to be at this place, to be able to provide that to people. And it's not bullshit. It's authentic. And you've always known that. But then I get in my head sometimes around like, do people see or do people feel like in the genuine energy that I'm giving? I'm like, girl, they've always felt that. Like in a lot of moments lately where it's like people from my college years, some of my family members, you know, that have known me since I was a kid, have always like, they've said like recently within the last month, like you've always been like this. I remember one person that I went to college with was like, you know, you were always just like walking in your light even back then. And I felt like I was very lost then. So it's that, you know, I received a friend of mine was basically just like, you're the person that reminded me that I could pray. And for me, prayer growing up was always something that felt like it was forced upon me or like me being dragged into it without understanding the power of it. And I think that was because I had to come into my own understanding of what prayer was. And sometimes you have to go through some shit in order to like recognize what it means to pray yourself out of a situation or do something to like maneuver through a difficult time. And for me to like hear that, especially because of my background, my Christian background, and some of the trauma that I have endured with God in the church, I think like reminded me like you've been praying forever and you are always going to continue to do that. And that's probably the protection that is providing you the space to continue to be here on this physical planet. And also like the prayers of those that came before me and the prayers of the people in my circle and my tribe that I know pray for me. And it's like we're all looking out for each other. And I feel like that's the energy that keeps us on this planet. And keeps us physically here. And it's just like I've been able to receive that from people. And it just reminds me like this has always been you. Which leads me to also part of the reason why I'm recording this. Because of course, you know me, intention as a plane flies by. Today I pulled 2 cards for myself. And I thought that this was going to be kind of like the focus of like while I was talking. But this is probably also a message for some other people. The first one about the... Okay, so I'll just read them in order. So the first one that came up from this deck that I was having, or deck that I'm using, is Iku. So Iku is the representation of death. It's ruled by Scorpio, of course. Universal law is beauty and victory. And it says, if you do not know death, look at the grave. So I pulled this today. And of course, this made me pull, there was a reading that I got a couple of, maybe last year sometime. From a practitioner. And I actually, because you know I always have to have my notes, and I have all my spiritual notes. If you don't do that, you should. All your spiritual notes in one location. I have physical copies, I have like digital copies of where all this stuff is. And I actually heard this message on September 25th 2020. Where is it at? If you want to see the most fertile lands in the world, go to a graveyard full of wasted potential. If niggas would live life like they were dead already, the fear of death, then we create these scenarios that basically just like perpetuate. Like if we thought that we were already dead, we would live like we were living. And it's just like, okay, so from this death phase, you get to create everything that you want. And it's like that one fear that spreads everywhere. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you let that fear spread, then it just kind of like takes you over. So when I heard that, I was like, this is very timely, because I just read this information after a phone call with a friend of mine, maybe last night. So for this message to come out, it was like, you're in this season of like having to remember those, it's like the legacy building, like the people that have come before me and the people that have influenced me to be where I am are the ones that I put on and do it for, and remind myself like they wanted this or they did this, and I see myself living in this with what I do. Today is the 11th. I know that my stepbrother's birthday, hold on, is coming up soon. It's the 13th. That's what I thought. So his birthday is on Sunday. His transition date was, if today is the 11th, 7 days ago, so a week ago. So that's also been a lot to handle, because I'm also just like thinking about how am I honoring my family, honoring myself, not necessarily not taking into account, but not feeling the external judgment that I think I used to feel. And I'm starting to see a lot of changes with the relationship with like my parents. Like going home at the end of May was really, you know, it was transformational. Okay. And I'm actually going back in July. So yeah. So anyway, the Iku card, it says this is a promise of an ending. However, it is also a promise of a new beginning. Many of us cower in the sight of the symbolic representation of death because we have ingrained in ourselves that death is bad, but it is a certainty of life. With this card, we recognize that once a chapter is complete, we must turn the page and begin a new one. This universe is made up of infinite cycles. However, we must stray away from getting caught in loops. So I feel like there's certain loops in my life that I've been like releasing, or just trying to get myself out of. And they've been centering like certain, not necessarily certain friendships, but just like, you know, certain people have been trying to reach out. And I have always like reached out back because, you know, I felt like it was the right thing to do. But what I'm starting to notice right now is like, where am I putting my energy? Like, and am I getting it back? And I know that there are a lot of people that meet me where I am. And why is my lips so white? I guess because I need to drink some water, child. People have been meeting me where I am, and it's like I don't have to, like, I already have enough people in my life that are great. And I'm always looking to add more, but I also don't need to fight for that right now. Like, I'm blessed and highly favored as is. And I'm not looking for anything more. I mean, except for, you know, and I've been thinking about that a lot lately too. Like, what is it that I want in a companion? Because I've been, and I think this card actually talks about it. It says, in love, your current relationship may be going through a major change or perhaps ending in its entirety. All fears aside, if you're truthful to yourself in this partnership, you may already well have seen the writing on the wall. Don't attach yourself to dying things. If you're single and asking the question of dating and if you should or why they aren't working out, you ought to assess if you have an issue with codependence, attracting toxic energies, or settle for unequal dynamics. Release past relationships and current ones that feel like more of an obstacle course than a walk on the beach. That's not to say all relationships are roses 24/7, but if it's more thorns than petals, you know what to do. And I think that that's what I've been like fucked up by, because I'm like, what is more thorns than petals? And like, what am I willing to get pricked by? And like, what is a prick? And like determining what those triggers are, or what those moments of like recoil are for me. And if I'm having those way too often, maybe that's a sign that that's not where I need to be energetically. And it should be like, it's a rose, it's beautiful, it attracts you. But if you have to like, every single time you're grabbing to reach it, then I can't do it anymore. At least in that capacity. It's like I can walk by and admire the rose, but that doesn't mean that I have to pull up on it for real. Come on, spirit. So I need to do some even more shedding, and that's hard. Because like for me right now, it's like, you know, I think what I find difficult is the fact that like I know I am a lot, but I mean that in the best way. And I feel like it has been difficult to find similar energies that run on similar frequencies that I can still be invested with one another. So when I find it in any kind of way, I want to hold on to it, because I feel like it's very hit or miss, very touch and go. And I have to remind myself that, I mean, I'm single, just so we're putting that out there, and I'm looking to mingle. And that's that on that. That's what Spirit said. Leave that there, girl. And then it said in spirituality, there's an ending coming to outdated beliefs. Perhaps you've been following teachings that you've realized aren't in line with your spiritual path. Don't be afraid to walk away from the things that aren't serving their purpose anymore. So I feel like I'm in this place also where I am walking away from things that just feel like, you know, I jumped onto the scene doing one thing and I started doing a lot of work in the spiritual realm, or just like spiritual, like wellness industry. And it looked different. And I've been going back to a lot of old videos because what I was having was an identity crisis back in the day, especially around this time last year. It was like an identity crisis around the difference between Gary and Gigi, and I'll even say Dre, because they're all three different entities, and I'm, that represents my triangle. Because people would address me as Gigi, and I wasn't able to really like put that crown on fully yet. Like I still wasn't secure in myself. And I was just like, I felt like people were intermingling like my name, and I'm in this place of like understanding who all those people are. Like I'm showing up today as Gary, and that's because I'm just giving you the not because I'm always giving the truth, my truth. And I always give my truth too, but it's just like talking through the inner workings of my mind, and releasing them and like holding space for them, and also knowing that space can be held with them, and it's also going to be safe. And I think that that's the biggest thing that I've been like trying to remind myself is the sense of safety, and what does safety feel like in this season. The other card I pulled was You Cannot Lean on Air. It's the Prince of the Mind. And this is Ijoye Lokan. In the deck, it's the Jack of Spades, which is the Knight of Swords, ruled by Gemini and Taurus. Obviously, we just went through this Gemini new moon. This is all about the psyche, obstacles, and complications. It's the fortune-telling symbol. And it talks about, like, you know them well, but not as well as you think. So it's like, of course, like, that always causes a little pause. In a dark-spirited, envious person, it says sudden changes, brash, exacting, quick thinking. So it was just talking about, signifies a major shift in it, especially in love, and it may take some courage to work on your part to move forward. This person might also have a hard time getting too emotionally involved in others. T. If you're single, you will meet someone who is independent, confident, and knows how to keep you interested. This card tells you that if you are courageous enough to confront your fears, you will enjoy a satisfying relationship. This, in a reading, might mean a major change in your love life. I do want to read what the past, present, and future says. It says, in the past represents someone who works well in a logical environment. It can represent someone who works in positions of authority or STEM. As a kid, this suggests having known then what you want to do now. If you have since then decided that it was a pipe dream, reconsider, as the positions may be more favorable for that to happen. In the present position, you'll be handed an opportunity to change your life. This might not seem as such a big deal as when it happens, but the results will outweigh the initial reaction. That feels like this creator week that I just did. I'm manifesting it because I feel like it's going to get me even more opportunity. It's something that's already been done, and there's a blessing in that, and I'm blessed because of that. Seriously grateful for. I do know how that happened because I worked hard, and it was due to me, and I'm grateful for it. It was due to me, and I can say that with confidence. It was due to me. In the future position, this card talks of personal relationships that lead to a change of perspective. This is a warning to play your cards close to the chest. Be careful who you trust. This can also denote an implementation of structure and calculation in your day-to-day choices. If you are in a relationship, Knight of Swords can indicate you're in a relationship with somebody who embodies the qualities outlined above, or are displaying some of these qualities in your love life. If you're single, it can indicate you will meet someone who embodies the qualities outlined above. Also could indicate a romantic proposal coming your way, or that you are going to be swept off your feet. The universe is handing you an opportunity to walk in your power and embrace your destiny, is what it means spiritually. So, of course, you know me. I'm mixy. And of course, I don't like somebody, but of course I always have my eye out because I'm always looking at niggas. I'm always going to be looking at niggas. When am I not looking at niggas, if I'm being honest? But it's just I'm in this place where I'm if the right energy is out there, and, you giving me what I'm giving you, and we communicate about it openly, then what's good? And it could be cute while we could be cute this summer. You dig? So it's just that's kind of where I'm at. And I said, that goes back to the sense of companionship. And it's just I feel like I have so much love to give. And there's maybe one or two people that will allow me to just share that love with them in my life right now. And sometimes it's not that it's more than enough, but I also don't have that partnership piece with them, if that makes sense. And I'm do I need that? I do, because I just want to know that I have that person. But I'm also just some of the opportunities or the situations I find myself in my life right now are helping me to reflect on what it is that I really need. And I think that I'm still figuring that out. And I'm hoping to be able to I mean, I know, but it's like being able to build that with somebody else, and then we get to communicate on whether or not, you know, not necessarily we have those connections, but like what does that look like as a pair? I think what it is that I'm looking for is just like not trying to have the legal shit, but more about like I know that you're my person in that way, and we got each other's backs. And I'm still adjusting to like finding what that frequency is for me right now, but I am putting it out into the universe and giving it over to God, and even speaking about it is something that I have found shyness around, because growing up, that felt like something I had to hide, that desire, especially because of my sexuality. So I feel like all of my life has been, first off, knowing that I am desirable, and I can be desired, and I can also have that with somebody else, especially with like another, you know, another male presenting person. But I feel like these are the things that help me to these are the things that help me to prepare to receive that openly. And also I can see myself having more of those real conversations with people in my life, and also some of these folks. So I know that it is preparation for the situation, and I don't want to call it a situationship, but the relationship, the companionship that is divinely written for me at this stage in my life, in all of the phases of transition that I'm in, and I'm ready to receive them. And I feel like I've been preparing myself emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, to be at this place now. And I just feel really happy. I feel really proud, and I'm so thankful, you know, to God, you know, to the universe, to my ancestors, to the people that have been in my corner all of the last couple of years, and like, you know, in my life, honestly, and the ones that are still here, the ones that come and go. Like, I still have love for every single person, but I know that there's a bigger mission that I need to start taking over, and I'm not sure where it's supposed to lead me, but I do know that it's time for a change. I think that's the name of this. It's time for a change. And I'm willing to step into the frequency that allows that change to take place, and for me to go ahead and have that version upgrade of the system. But I wanted to keep this at 27 minutes because, you know, 27 is my number. So this is where I'm going to chop it. Glad I got to talk to myself, and glad I got to connect with people. You know what I'm saying? So if anybody knows, like, there's also have to give reverence to those that have lost people. There've been a lot of people that have lost folks in my life recently. And then I just lost my great aunt when I was in Atlanta. So it's just like trying to think about all of these things, and just like holding space for myself and holding space for others. So thank you for holding space for me. If you're watching this, and also thank you to me in the future that looks back at this and it's like, girl, you were doing a good job. Doing a good job.